My background, I worked quite a bit with Makerere University and a lab called the Artificial Intelligence and Data Science Lab. It's now headed by Joyce, who's here in Makerere University. And it did a lot of, the work we're trying to do was trying to get computational tools or methods and apply them to contextual problems here. This sort of has grown over time. And one of the key things it has grown into is this idea of AI for social good. So I just want to discuss that a bit and sort of pitch the context here. All right, so this is a map of Africa. And this is from the AI Africa report. So it basically shows all dimensions of companies that have AI as a major component in the different countries. And really, I just wanted to show the growth of AI. So when a lot of this work started, 10, 15 years ago, there was hardly any companies in AI. And a lot of work over the last decade, couple of years, has been on capacity building the capacity of Africans to work in this field. And now we're getting companies, startups, companies, all these things. And this is quite positive. And, Kenya tends to be the second, well, at least in East Africa. It's good that we're here. So there's a lot of representation here, at least for AI. So things are happening here. So maybe just to recast AI, I think it has been talked about quite a bit. And I just wanted to recast it from the AI for social good side. So a lot of AI has been talking about these agents that act rationally. But I want to talk about the second. So this idea of an objective function. And I think Margaret talked about it quite a bit. How do you get good loss functions, good objective functions? And another way of looking at it is to think of humans. So when I was a graduate student, my supervisor, he told me two things. One of them was, all of us are trying to optimize some sort of objective function. And this idea of optimizing something. So for example, why are we here? Many people have different reasons for being here. You could be here to make connections. And so all your activities will be to optimize how many connections you make. So your function is slightly different from someone who's here maybe to get funding. So his activities will be to optimize how many donors they meet, or people with money. My supervisor told me workshops, one of the key things for workshops and conferences is to sleep. You have to, it's a way to rest. You're taking time off hectic work and you come here, good hotel and sleep. So, you could be maximizing that. So if you don't see me here tomorrow morning, just saying. But anyway, so this idea of objective functions is very important in AI for social good, right? Because sometimes the things you think you're trying to do, for example, and I'll give some examples. I worked quite a bit with agriculture, with smallholder farmers, trying to use AI and machine learning to improve their yield, and from improving their yield, hopefully better their livelihoods and etc. But one of the things you quite notice is as soon as you improve their livelihoods, they leave agriculture. So, you're optimizing something, but as soon as they get better, a little bit better, than they leave. They're tuned in on something else that you're not tuned in on. So it's very important to think about this idea of objective functions. Very tricky with social good. Also, most times we do not know what we are doing, right? As human beings, as people. Yeah. It's very hard to know. Oh, humans, said people. All right, so, and there are many types of AI. There's AGI. I think this is a common thing that we ask about. When will AI get to that human level of cognizance? There's responsible AI. We've talked of ethical AI. There's compatible AI. There are many types of AI. Global AI. There's beneficial AI. There's Google AI, which is here as well. Sunbird AI, there are many types of AI. So which one are we talking about? All right, so that's AI. That is sort of the AI I want to talk about. You're doing AI to optimize some objective, which is to optimize good. So what is this good? So it could be anything. Sometimes you talk of doing AI for social good because of the domain. It's health, agriculture. These are key domains, especially here in this context. It could be the nature of work, NGOs, universities. It could be the intent of the work. Most of us are trying to alleviate poverty, famine, etc. It could be the nature of the products that I'm trying to build open source. So this could all be termed social good. Or it could be, a combination of all these things, right? So this could be the idea of what the good is that you're trying to look for. And the basic, the premises of AI for social good is that, we want to do good. We're using our intelligence to do good, and artificial intelligence should help us sort of maximize some of these objectives. So with artificial intelligence, we should do more good, but this tends not to be the case. So why in Africa? And I think we had Aisha's talk, many applications of AI here, which target social good. I think a lot of the posters, again, will have these examples of people trying to impact society. And so this, I think Africa is uniquely positioned for this kind of thing, right? So where we could put a lot of effort and research in building self-driving cars here, which could really help looking at the traffic here in Nairobi. But, maybe this idea of social good, building AI and tuning it such that we are targeting the good of society, maybe is another, is a more beneficial way of using AI for Africa. So it's sort of looking at it from that context. All right, so I'll just give some examples of work, prototypical examples of work that's being done here in AI. So what's happening in AI in Africa? So a lot of the work has been in agriculture. So agriculture, takes about 70% of the livelihoods in Africa. A lot of people are involved in agriculture. And diagnosing disease or predicting yield or understanding inputs into agriculture, surveillance. There's a lot of work that's being done in agriculture, in AI. So this is some work from the Makerere AI lab. So trying to understand pests, to count pests and symptoms using AI. And AI is sort of some algorithm you build for and you deploy on the phone, because that works here in this context. Certain things like microscopy. We had a talk on malaria. So microscopy, so this particular project is trying to automate the function of a lab technologist, right? So, we have, I think there was a statistic that we had more equipment than actual experts. So getting a phone to look through the eyepiece of a microscope and calculate, parasites for all manner of things, malaria, tuberculosis, etc., may be a good idea. This is some work we're doing as well, environmental sensing from Sunbird. And I'm trying to sense the noise. Here there's no noise in aircraft, but out there's a lot of noise. So understanding the acoustic environment around places, hospitals, schools, neighborhoods, gives you some idea of planning, but also noise has negative effects. So this extending environmental sensing to air, noise, it is a big field here as well of what AI is being used for here. All right, so the evolution of AI, you could say, over time, and what the status is now is quite interesting. So for a long time, or maybe for the last couple of years, 15 or so, we've seen a large a large part of AI, which is focused on this thing here. So AI that sees, and I think this is what we've been trying to automate. I think this is a famous opinion from people like Stuart Russell. The last couple of decades have been focused on building AI solutions that see. So using images, and you see a lot of work in images, remote sensing data. So the idea that you can take some image and from it calculate some statistics or features and use those in machine learning or AI to get some inference, right? And image data has been predominant here. So why, for example, in some of the work we've done with images makes it a lot easier, and I'm going to explain why in a couple of slides. But images, Africa has a diversity of languages. So even just using images for image data for things like in agriculture, like disease diagnostics, where you have an app, you have someone to use it, but the language is a problem. So showing images, for example, even for that part of communication is very easy. Someone points at a plant, takes an image, and from there it can calculate some type of disease. So image data has been quite good for this kind of thing. I wanted to explain a bit about images, but this has probably been explained quite a bit. And the idea really in AI is to extract representations from data and use those representations to build some model, and from that model do some predictions or some type of understanding. And several things here, several examples which have sort of been talked about, and there'll be examples of this in the posters. But what I wanted to come to is the next epoch of AI, so the next frontier. It's good this is a frontiers meeting. So the next epoch is perhaps, which has already begun, is AI that reasons. So instead of AI that sees, now we're going to AI that reasons. So AI that sees, or AI that reasons, or reasoning about knowledge, which is sort of the next thing. And this is where you see these huge foundational models. And language is a big thing. And I want to talk about language. One of these foundational models, you get these very exciting examples of what the capability of AI now is in reasoning and understanding. So this is GPT-3. It's one of these large foundational models that you can use to build off, smaller models easily with less compute, less data. So a model that sort of takes a prompt and writes an academic paper and sort of goes ahead to submit it. And language has exploded. This is a screenshot from the work, for example, Google is doing, and any big company has similar type of things. So there's a lot of work being done in language, and language is important. And this is one area we've sort of gone into, and I think this is an area that is important for Africa, right? So if we're looking for areas to work in, this is one area I think that we need to sort of work on. So language diversity here is huge. There's so many languages here. And this idea of understanding, the only way you understand me is because we have a common language. And so building this into AI, I think is going to be I think it's going to open the space for most of the applications in health, in agriculture, in medicine. Once we start building these AI tools that can consume language, then, the horizon is going to expand rapidly. And so there's been a lot of work in building language technology for low resource languages in Africa. Of course, you talked about Mosekani. There's a lot of work being done in several labs in Africa, and NGOs like Sunbird AI, we're doing language technology. And and some of the nuanced contextual things we are doing with this language is things like this, community co-creation, where you have the community try and build their context into the language. Of course, there's a whole big area of working through the ethics, I think, that Margaret talked about. But this idea of getting the community and building this contextual language technology is quite important. And so these are sort of the unique ways that we're trying to do it here. So instead of collecting huge amounts of data, we're trying to collect more contextual data that suit for the community, suit for purpose. And you can do, we've done different things. So one of the things you can do with these things, I mean, some areas of cross-transfer or multilingual modeling, where languages of which come from a similar family, you can sort of train against them, and you can build performance just by training multilingually on these languages. And some results which I won't dwell on, but you can sort of try out some of these things. So this is translate.sunbird AI, some of the things we're trying to work on, and not only language but speech. So speech synthesis or automated speech recognition, sort of the next frontier. So what are we doing with this? And this is the last slide. So we're trying to do this in Sunbird, expanding its use for social good. And I think this is where we need to focus. So the technology is coming up to speed. I think we need to move to the applications. And you're doing several things in automated translation, or translating podcasts or information, or interfaces between people like doctors and patients, and this kind of thing, and user feedback. So there's a lot of work, I think, in this field. And I just wanted to point out that, language technology for African languages is a key thing on the horizon. So thank you very much. That's it from me.